Morning, grade sevens. Before we start the video and the slides, I have a few important announcements to make. This week, you will be having your Unit 7 test on Thursday, April 2nd at 1 p.m. until 3 p.m. And myself and Ms. Jolie will be sending you the link to your school emails. And second important announcement is you must have a valid school email to access the quiz. The one that ends with hayatschoolstudent.com. If you do not, you will not be able to access the quiz and you will get 0. Also, you will have a bell work through Google quiz forms also on Tuesday, and that will be put up in the morning and you'll have all day to do that and submit it. Again, for both, you must have a valid Hayat School student email to do them both. And again, on Thursday, you will only have 2 hours. We will open the quiz at 1 and it will be closed at 3 p.m. And if you don't submit it by 3, you will get a 0. Plotting points in the 4 quadrants. Plot each of the following points on the grid below. Here's a blank grid, and on the right is the actual answers. So take a look. They're plotted, they're right. Remember, you X before Y, you run before you jump. Some key hints: X comes before Y, horizontal, H comes before vertical when you're plotting points. What are the coordinates of each point shown on the grid below? So the opposite of the question where they give you the points and you need to write down the coordinates, and we have the grid on the left and the answers on the right with the proper coordinates. So go ahead, check your work. If you want, you can try to cover the coordinates and do it yourself and then check your answers. Plot the following point on the grid just like number 1. Again, repeat of that question. That was mainly what we did in lesson 7.1. Blank grid, and on the right is the answers. Remember, X before Y, you run before you jump, horizontal, then vertical when you're plotting. And don't think it's very easy, because many students unfortunately make very silly mistakes, and you shouldn't be losing points on a question like this. Without graphing, give the quadrant the graph of each point would be located in. And over here we have a blank grid, and if you see the mouse here, the pointer, this is quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, quadrant 4. It goes counterclockwise, and they give you a coordinate, and you have to tell the quadrant. A, -4 and 9 would be quadrant 2. B, 5 and -7 would be in quadrant 4. -5, -3, both negative in quadrant 3, and 4 and 11 in quadrant 1. That's it for section 7.1. Now review 7.2, transformations of 2D shapes. Name the type of movement: translation, rotation, or reflection that moves the figure on the left to the figure on the right. Let's use the mathematical terms. Slide and turn and flip is just used to help us remember it, but when you're writing the answers, you need to use translation, rotation, reflection. A, it's a rotation, change of direction. B is a rotation. It's very tricky. A lot of students write reflection. It's actually incorrect. If it was a reflection, this figure here, this pentagon, would be right under, and that would be a flip or reflection. C is a translation. D is a rotation. Some more. Name the type of transformation that moves a figure on the left to the figure on the right. Translation, a rotation, another rotation, and here is a reflection, mirror image. Now the drawings. These get a little tricky. The drawings are not exact because it was hard for us to get the image right next to the transformation image next to the original image. But rotate the following figure 90 degrees to the right. So this over here should be right here, if you can see the pointer, and that would be right. And it does make a difference if you have the big square up here and the small rectangle down here. That is technically wrong. Flip the following figure about the dotted line. Very straightforward. This figure should just be right in front of this one, and it is a reflection. And this is a translation. It doesn't have to be exact, but when you're doing this on paper, you should have a ruler and you should measure 1 centimeter to the right and about 2 up. So this M should be about right here, like that. Rotate the following figure 90 degrees to the left. Over here you see the figure on the right is flat now, while here it was kind of standing up, and this L looking figure would be right down here if you can see the arrow, and that's it. So that's the last slide. Again, reminder, make sure you have a valid Hayat School student email, and if you don't and you're not able to access it, you must email your homeroom teacher, myself, or Ms. Jolene, and let us know as soon as possible, and not 5 minutes before either the bell work or the unit test on the Google Forms.